All right, after 2 weeks with the brand new iPad mini, is this cute little tablet too small to do anything with? Hey, I'm Jerry, and this is the most surprising iPad I've ever used. And I've used a lot of iPads, starting with the very first back in 2010. And somehow, the only picture I have of me is unboxing it without the iPad even in the photo. But man, I haven't aged a day. Of all of the devices that Apple announced last month, the iPad mini was the thing I was least interested in. But from the second I unboxed it, it started to feel like something I needed. In the last 2 weeks, I found it to be the perfect companion device for so many things. So let me tell you how I've been using this iPad over the last 2 weeks, and let me know in the comments if you plan on getting one. First and foremost, I've been using this iPad on the couch, and in my office, and in bed, and on the back patio, because this thing is just so compact and easy to hold. At roughly 8 inches by 5 inches and just over a pound, this is the most comfortable iPad to hold in your hand. The new iPad mini design is now in line with other iPads and iPhones, including the modern flat sides that just feel good in the hand. I don't have big hands, but I can comfortably hold this iPad in one hand without worrying about dropping it. I could sit for long stretches holding this iPad up with one hand or two while swiping through news, checking YouTube stats, or buying crap I really just don't need on Amazon. I usually use iPads with keyboard cases because they're heavy, and after a while it's just uncomfortable to hold. But the mini is just the opposite and offers an experience much closer to an iPhone as far as usability goes. I generally don't like iPad on-screen keyboards because in landscape mode, I have to use a single finger, and in portrait, it's just still too wide for my hands. With the mini, I can comfortably type with my 2 thumbs in portrait mode to type in URLs, search, respond to messages, and send some quick emails. If you have smaller hands than I, you can still do the split keyboard thing by tapping and holding the button on the bottom right and dragging up to split the keyboard. Now, just because I know I will get some comments, I want to briefly mention the Jelly Scroll, just briefly. The laminated display with P3 colors, True Tone, and 326 pixels per inch, which is higher than all other iPads by the way, looks great. Yes, there can be a jelly effect when you're scrolling in portrait mode, but if you scroll and read at the pace of a normal person, you shouldn't have any issues. If you read like this somehow, then yeah, you're gonna see some jelly and you should probably return it. But for a normal person, it's fine and not a deal breaker. Next, when it comes to watching movies, shows, or videos on the iPad mini, it's pretty great. I like to prop this up on the Apple Smart Folio on a table while eating lunch, or on the counter while making dinner, or just on my desk when I'm working. At 8.3 inches, the display is a great size for casually or passively watching something. The screen gets enough bright at up to 500 nits to get an immersive feel on the iPad if you want to sit and watch a movie. You can do that with AirPods Max for maximum entertainment, which I was late to the whole AirPods Max game, but I did pick some up over the summer and made a great video about it. I think it's pretty great, but they keep going on sale, so check that out. But you can also just use the built-in stereo speakers, which I have to admit do lack a little bit of bass because of their small size, but they still get loud enough to hear clearly over something, say, frying on the stove and kids running around. If you're an iPhone or iPad gamer, then the iPad mini is perfect. The larger than iPhone display, but compact and comfortable enough to hold iPad mini is a great way to game. I will say that beyond some basic tests of other games and some Apple Arcade games, I mostly stick to playing Call of Duty Mobile. The mini is just the right size and weight to still use on-screen controls without getting fatigued, but with a much bigger display than on an iPhone. And the performance of the new A15 chip with 2 performance cores and 4 graphics cores just crushes any game available on iPad. I also want to point out that if you do plan to download more than a couple of large iPad games or do anything with 4K video, then you may want to consider the 256GB iPad mini for $649 over their 64GB model for $499. Geekbench shows a slight performance increase over the A14 processor in the iPad Air 4, which is fine because there are no iOS apps that these can't handle. And these chips are not just built for the apps that we have today or now. These are built for the longevity of the device, which is going to be 5 years or more. Even with 4GB of RAM, I have not experienced any performance issues when playing games, editing 4K video, or anything else for that matter. The iPad mini now comes with Apple Pencil 2 support, so it charges and pairs magnetically on the side of the iPad, which is great for anyone who likes to draw or take notes with their iPad. With iOS 15, you can use that new Quick Note gesture by swiping from the bottom right corner. The iPad mini is great for anyone who wants a small device to take notes in meetings, and with the back camera, you can quickly take shots of a whiteboard or other documents. I generally like to type out my notes for obvious reasons, but I do like to use the Apple Pencil to sign documents and timesheets for my contractors. The front camera on the iPad mini uses a new ultra-wide lens and center stage to get people centered in the display. This came in handy this week because my wife was out of town. My daughter and I were able to sit near each other at the kitchen table when we were eating dinner, and the camera kept us both centered when FaceTiming. You don't even have to perfectly angle or adjust the iPad because it will adjust automatically and find you. Every time I had to get up to get my daughter something like milk or ketchup or whatever else, the camera would just recenter on my daughter and then zoom out to add me back into the video when I returned. Now you might think that because this iPad mini is so small and it doesn't have a smart connector, that you can only do small things with this iPad. Well, actually, as you may have seen, this iPad mini can actually become a full desktop setup. Because Apple added USB-C to the new iPad mini, you now have a world of accessories that you can connect to the iPad, including a USB-C hub with video out, USB ports, external SSDs, and SD card readers. Although there are some limitations to iPadOS with an external display, when it's connected with an external keyboard, mouse, and display, you can get some real creative work done. You can edit photos and videos on a large screen, or just browse the web. You can multitask with multiple apps, or make that gaming experience that much better with an external display and using an external controller like this blue Xbox One controller. USB-C really opens up what you can do with iPad accessories, but the iPad mini can also be an accessory for your Mac. Using Sidecar, you can easily add the iPad mini as a second display when on the go, making multitasking even better on the Mac. So, as I explained, I've been using the crap out of this new iPad mini. It's a super versatile little device that is powerful enough to knock out anything you throw at it. It's small enough to use for long periods of time, and it's perfect for gaming and watching movies, and built to do even more with the addition of USB-C. I've been genuinely surprised at how good it just feels to use this iPad and how much it has replaced screen time with my other devices. It's kind of difficult to explain how fun and nice it is to use this iPad without actually using it, so I definitely recommend you go check one out. It is fun to use. Unlike all my other previous larger iPads, I've not been using this as a laptop replacement, and that's made it all the better. But I do have two super small complaints, and they have to do with the buttons. First, I understand that they had to move the buttons to make room for the Apple Pencil, which takes up basically the whole side of the iPad. And it's kind of neat that the volume up button changes depending on the orientation of the iPad. But I just don't like them on the top of the iPad when in portrait mode, which is how I use the iPad 90% of the time when I'm holding it. I just haven't gotten used to it yet, and I don't know that I even will when switching back and forth between devices. Second, to make that screen bigger and give it that modern design, they moved Touch ID to the top power button, just like in the iPad Air 4. It's great to have that larger screen without a home button at the bottom, but when the rest of my iPads and iPhones use Face ID, I get hung up when unlocking. I touch the screen to wake it up and I swipe up just out of habit, and then I get stuck at the pin because I didn't put my finger up here. And it's just a me thing. Probably nobody else has that issue. My brain just doesn't want to go back to using Touch ID. Apple still sells the iPhone 11 with Face ID for $499, so I don't see why they didn't add it to the mini, and I hope that they add it to all of the iPads next year. Anyway, those are my thoughts on using the brand new iPad mini 6 over the last couple weeks. And the TLDR is it's amazing, I love it, and you should definitely try it. But I do want to know what you think. Do you think the new iPad mini can find a place in your workflow or entertainment? Let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in more iPad mini content, let me know with a thumbs up. Then hit the subscribe button to make sure you're notified of new videos, and I'll see you next time.